Hey everybody, still at the zoo and museum where I used to work. This is the rebuild since pandemic. I've been here before, but didn't get that much footage. Actually, the signal was choppy. So far it's pretty good this trip, only a few dead spots, but wanted to show this is the original front of the museum here. Where I'm standing is actually right at the edge of the parking lot. Now it's a deck. And the parking lot is actually way beyond there now. So they reclaimed all this space for the museum and for demo areas and classrooms and stuff. So now we're in the dinosaur area. So that's an actual scale model of an ankylosaur. Really, really high detailed, excellent. I did a 3D model scan of it once and did a video on Facebook of some AR walking around the placed thing in a park in a totally different part of town, actually over in Mountain View. And we're still in Palo Alto. So I'll upload that video some other time to YouTube. I think it's only on Facebook right now. But the AR stuff is really cool. You can just scan things and stick them anywhere. Create your own exhibit. Oh, is it Mr. Softy ice cream? Yeah, it's Mr. Softy. Funny he drove by because the East Coast Mr. Softy, I think where the company started, the guy who started it was a former Vietnam vet, demolitions expert. And he ran into that mafia hitman called the Iceman and actually taught him how to poison people. So here's the guy selling ice cream to kids with this happy little music, and he's actually a trained killer teaching a serial killer how to kill mafia guys. So fun little story. But too dark for this place. So anyway, dinosaur area. So this Dawn Redwood here, this was the original front of the museum. That wall right there was the actual museum itself, but it's all been rebuilt, leveled and rebuilt. But this Dawn Redwood was here the whole time. It's a distant relative of the coast redwood we have here and the giant redwood. It's only found in China naturally. Very different type of tree. It has much softer leaves, much different bark, different growth pattern, and not nearly as tall or as impressive as the coast redwood and the giant redwood here. But because it's so much older, it's like a living fossil. These things have been around, again, since the dinosaur period and before. So millions and millions and millions of years ago. And so it's cool that they still have it here, and they built an exhibit around it because it's a prehistoric type tree. So Dawn Redwood, Metasequoia glyptostroboides. The redwoods people think of in California, coastal redwood is Sequoia sempervirens. And the one in the Sierra Nevada called the giant redwood, which gets huge and massive tree trunks, but it gets topped by lightning because it gets so tall in the high mountains. It's Sequoia, hold on, think about this. Sequoia dendron giganteum is the giant redwood in the Sierras. So it's a different genus even than the one on the coast. And this is Metasequoia glyptostroboides. So fun facts. And they put some primitive plants here as well, like ferns, which are also from the time of the dinosaur. We have like wood ferns and sword ferns. This is actually looks like a palm, but it's actually another primitive plant called a cycad. It's classified as a conifer, like a pine or something like that. It's not considered a typical flowering plant, like what they call angiosperms, like a daisy or even grass. Grass is considered an angiosperm. This is really primitive plants. So again, around the time of the dinosaurs. Looks like a palm, but a palm is a flowering plant in the angiosperm group. This is a cycad, and it's a totally different ball game, much more primitive type of plant. But all kinds of little ferns in here. We've got maidenhair fern, very delicate. Different kinds of maidenhair fern, wood fern, chain fern. This one I'm not sure. It looks like a polypody fern, but this one I don't know very well. And they have these Tasmanian tree ferns here, which get very tall. So really nice selection of fern stuff here, and a nice shady bit because it's a really hot day today. It's pretty miserable. Hey, I will. Yeah, I'm gonna do a quick video here, and I'll go check her out. Can I just get in there, or do I have to? Okay, cool. Thanks. All right, thanks a lot. So yeah, ferns and all kinds of cool stuff, and you'll see some little critters they have models of in there that are nice little things that would hide in the forest. So there's a little pit where you can do excavation of fossils. So they have some fake dinosaur bones in there. You can use brushes and other tools of the trade. This actually shows what's under the sand. So if you uncover the whole thing, it's quite big. But right now they've just uncovered a piece of it. So that's nice. And just some other stuff. They got some other, they have a crow here with little fish. Sorry, that's not a crow. Yeah, that's a crow. Oh no, Ichthyornis, sorry. It looks a lot like a crow, but it's a primitive birdie. There's a little passerine, a perching bird, primitive perching bird, and Ichthyornis. And there's Ichthyornis doing some diving. Prehistoric bird had teeth, and you can see little teeth in there with the fish. Very nice. I'd forgotten about that bird. We actually studied that in my classes hell of a long time ago. And then you have these plesiosaurs. So this is what the whole Nessie hoax and all that kind of stuff, which is a big funny joke played by a guy for many, many years. And he admitted to it before he died, even though they already proved it was fake. But this is what that was supposed to be. And because he made it look kind of like it, with the silhouette above water, people believed it. But there are no surviving plesiosaurs. This is a long time ago. There's some fossilized trees here. And here's ankylosaur. So that's artist rendering of what it would look like being chased by a T-Rex. So spikes on the back, club tail, really good at protecting itself. There's fossilized plates and a spike. Here's some columnar basalt. That's always cool stuff. There's a Devil's Postpile near Mammoth next to Yosemite that has a whole formation of this. Basically, Devil's Tower in Wyoming, where they shot Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that entire mountain is a giant formation of columnar basalt. It's amazing. More fossilized stuff. So here's the ankylosaur. And again, I scanned this and did an AR video of it, but let's do a quick walk over. You can see the details, very, very well made. And of course, you know, the coloration and some of the recreation of the soft tissues is all circumstantial. It's all basically guesswork and combination of living organisms and what they found in the fossils to extrapolate this creature. But pretty cool approximation, I would say, based on the available information. And there's even a small fossil pit here with some sand. You can look for goodies. And then the showpiece of this is the hadrosaur, so-called duck-billed dinosaurs. Look at this guy. Huge. And they get bigger than this, supposedly. In fact, I forgot what species this is. I have to look at the sign, but look how big this guy is. And again, the coloration is not in fossils, so it's presumed with some educated guesses based on reptiles that live now and other stuff. They have these little videos here playing, showing how dinosaurs evolved over time. So here's the hadrosaur. Augustiner morticii. There you go. Never heard of Augustiner. That's one case where they actually named it after the paleontologist, I would imagine. So, but yeah, they have these, look at the fossil of the teeth. Really interesting grinding teeth because they're big plant eaters. And then I think around the corner is a dromaeosaur. So here's one for example, compared to the dentition of a plant eater versus the meat eater. So they have some nice examples of trees to scale. So here's the dawn redwood. Here's the coast redwood, Sequoia semper, so Metasequoia glyptostroboides, Sequoia sempervirens, very tall. And then Sequoia dendron giganteum, which is not as tall because it's limited by lightning strikes and other issues that make it more stout. It still gets pretty tall, but it gets a lot of times cropped by lightning, and also has this thick bark that allows it to survive through lightning, just like the coast redwood does. And tannins and terpenoids and stuff in the bark, that there are sawdust piles in the Sierra Nevada still around from the old days when they were logging everywhere, because the stuff lasts a long time. They don't, a lot of the critters that would normally break down the tree trunks and stuff into soil, just this really sturdy. That's why they're great for decks. Redwood is used for decking a lot. We had a redwood deck when I was a kid, and after 20 years, it still looked amazing, and it wasn't even sealed. It was just natural redwood. It wasn't varnished. It wasn't shellacked or stained or any special treatment done to it. Now you have the newer decks, often made with that pressure treated wood that's greenish, has like copper naphthenate in it and stuff. It's kind of nasty. So that one you would probably seal on top of the wood treatment, just because you don't want to have the chemicals on your skin. But that stuff lasts forever too. So other things for scale. So there's ginkgo biloba here. There's monkey puzzle tree, which they don't have here, as far as I know. Yeah, I don't see any monkey puzzle tree. Another one that's like monkey puzzle tree. This is Araucaria, but there's one called the Norfolk Island pine from the South Pacific, and that one actually is a kind of a distant relative of the monkey puzzle tree. It's the same kind of primitive tree. There's coast redwood, hadrosaur, dawn redwood. You see the leaves on the dawn redwood are softer and larger compared to the harder, smaller, shinier leaves to handle the high heat, and but still have enough surface area to absorb fog, moisture. Whereas the giant redwood, giant sequoia, has these sheath-like leaves. It's like little scales, and they're not spread out because they get a lot of snow cover. So you don't want to collect snow and break your branches. So they have more of a sheath protection and can survive in snowy areas. So there's some nice little benches around here, and other stuff. This is, actually, I think this is a Norfolk Island pine. Yeah, here we go. This is either a small monkey puzzle tree or Norfolk Island pine, so they do have an example of it here. They're sheathing leaves. And some primitive flowering plants here from Australia and New Zealand, these proteas. There's the back end of the dinosaur there, the big tail, big old hadrosaur. They also have Gunnera chilensis here. This is really like sandpapery, tough leaves with spines underneath it. Very tough. It grows near water usually, or at least a moist environment. So we have some out in the zoo by the pond. But they're really interesting plants. Very, you could scour pots and pans with these things. So crazy. You can hear how rough and how stiff it is. There's a shot of the spines below. It's pretty crazy. And another version of a cycad here, sticking up. Very thick leaves mixed in with the ferns. And they have some little books for people to look at. There's a little timeline here to find out humans versus birds versus crocodilians and flowers and insects. So pretty nice. Here we go. Here's Dromaeosaur. So it's one of the early dinosaurs with feathers. So the link to modern birds. It wasn't a bird, but it was like a bird. So you can see almost like a Deinonychus or Velociraptor. Small little guy with some feathers on its limbs and feathers on the tail. And again, color is assumed, obviously. Can't get color in fossils. Just like the eyes, they don't know what that looks like 100%, but you can extrapolate from living animals that are similar with similar biology. Then there's a nice little section here of for the dinosaur garden of various other fossils. There's reptiles, alligator, and turtle fossils. Petrified wood, which basically the minerals creep into the tissue, and as the tissue erodes, the exact imprint of the tissue structure is maintained as the tissue goes away. It's amazing stuff. I mean, there's a whole bunch of it in Valley of Fire in Las Vegas, right outside of town. Some other fossils here. Pterosaur, which is the pterodactyl, specifically pterosaur. Dinosaur claws, dinosaur backbone. That's pretty big. There's a hand for scale, dinosaur backbone. Not a big dinosaur, but pretty big. Dinosaur tooth, dinosaur eggs fossilized. We have some these crinoids, which are similar to they're actually animals that kind of like related to corals and jellies and stuff. Crinoids. I studied them a long time ago. I don't remember too much about them. Fish skeleton. It's a plesiosaur skull. It's a marine reptile skull. There's an ichthyosaur. Shell fossils. Yeah, losing my signal. Let's see if it stays here. It's kind of a dead spot right about here. Some plant fossils that are interesting, but I won't get too close because it's going to cut off. And we'll go back to, oh yeah, I forgot to show this. The Skelosaur, or some may call it the Celosaur, but often the SC is a K sound, but not always. The Skelosaur, not Skeletor. Look at this guy. So it doesn't have the feathers of the other guy, but again, it looks like a tiny, like a small Maiasaur or a small Deinonychus. When you watch Jurassic Park, they call it Velociraptor, but it's really a Deinonychus, because Velociraptor sounds cooler, but Deinonychus is really what the creature looks like in the movie. If you look at an actual museum exhibit or drawings of a Deinonychus, they had a great one at California Academy of Sciences for years. That was just, life-size, shocking looking. I used to spend a lot of time in there just tripping out. But that's the quote-unquote Velociraptor in Jurassic Park is Deinonychus. Yeah, pretty cool. So this place really upped their game with some of the stuff. They never had anything like this when I worked here. It's more mom and pop and fun and really cool in its own way, but with more funding and more grants and rich people involved, the place advanced quite a bit. Doesn't mean you throw money at something that's going to be good. So if it's well intended and well guided, this is what you can do to a place when you get the funding and you use it properly. I've been to plenty of places that looked fancy that were full of shit. They're incorrect information, not well presented, and just like an expensive museum. But this is where they use their money correctly, and it's something to be proud of. So I'm going to go to the office real quick and say hi to some former coworkers that are here. So I'm going to drop the stream now. I may pick it up again when I walk back through. I'll show you some of the weird music instruments they have in there for kids on the way out to the zoo, because there's a feeding time, I think in about half an hour, for the flamingos. So I'll catch y'all later. And I would say stay primitive. It doesn't sound right, but here we are being primitive at the dinosaur garden. See you all later.